So I know this guy who should be an astronaut, because in space, tears don't flow. Now there's 3 types of tears. There's basal for lubricant, there's reflex for irritant, and there's emotional. But he only accepts the first 2. So salt heaps his pillar cheeks, his eyes crack Iceland volcanic, his face must ache like continents colliding because he swears at me. He calls me a useless hippie, his mission is control, alt, delete, grief, but I always reflex cry. And then he's challenger explosive. For God's sakes, why are you women always crying? I don't cry because I have ovaries. I cry because bullies upset me. But I can't get upset here, or our mutual cultural conditioning will label me irrelevant before I do or say anything. So let's ask science. Science says that in North America, most men cry 8 to 10 times a year, while most women cry 50 to 60 times a year. But this is more than just hormones. See, at birth, all the babies weep exactly the same, but by the end of the first week, they all have accents. Distress meets cultural conditioning in 7 days. And by age 13, most Canadian boys are ashamed to weep at all. Even though tears are traditionally peace flags, they're compassion calls. Before the Industrial Revolution, when bosses decided that feeling slowed factory productivity, we could all weep together, less or more in our own ways, because everyone cries. Even gods cry. Hrothgar cried buckets. Jesus wept. The sun god Ra hummed bees into a tuneless world when his tears hit the sand. But these days, they say most of us will only cry at night, at home, alone. And that means we're holding it in. Even though science says a good cry is an open, honest, willing cry, alone or with others, it produces oxytocin, just like laughter or exercise. But a bad cry, that's a silent, stifled, unwilling cry, and it produces cortisol, just like anger. But tears aren't weakness, they are strength training. And he's been given no training at all. So my astronaut's out there in the drink, he's waving his fists, he's slowly sinking, and I want to save him. I am desperate to save him. He is my brother. But drowning men cannot be trusted. They will drag you under. So I tell him I cry because of syn-propanethiol S-oxide, though nobody's cutting onions here. I watch stars fall like lost astronaut tears. And when he isn't looking, I wipe mine away.